What better way to start a poker vlog than with pocket aces? There's a couple $10 calls to me. I raise it up to $80 here. 8x. These guys love to see some flops, so let's make it big. The big blind calls $80 and the limper calls $80. Right before the flop, I let my neighbors to my right sweat one of my cards each. I'm gonna let you guys look at one each.
All right. Which one do you want? All right.
King, Jack, Jack, 2 spades. We've got an overpair. We don't have the ace of spades in our hand. I feel like this is a great board to go for 3 streets of value against a King X hand. Now, it is possible one of my opponents could have flopped trips with a hand like Jack X, but I'm going to bet 125 here. I get a call from the big blind and a fold from the limper. Heads up now to the 4 of spades on the turn. Brings in the flush. I could check or I could continue to bet. And against players who don't really like to fold, I think betting here is fine. So I make it $225 and get snap called again by the big blind. I put him on hands like ace king, king queen, king 10. So when the river card's the 3 of diamonds, I'm going to keep betting here with pocket aces. If he has a king, there is no way he's ever folding. So I throw out 5 black chips, $500 over to him. He sighs a little bit and then raises to $1,125. This is just gross. I'm feeling my lunch creep up in my stomach. I want to puke on the floor. How nasty is this? Pocket aces, our first hand. We get min raised on the river on this board. Is he ever bluffing for this sizing? Could we ever fold for $600 more? Maybe he's overvaluing a worse hand. Does he have a jack, a full house, a flush? I don't really know what to do in this situation. I want you guys now to pause the video, go down to the comments below. Let me know what you would do here with pocket aces. After about 20 seconds, I come up with my decision. If you wouldn't have acted like you didn't like to raise and then raise, I maybe would have put a chips in, but I fold. What did you see?
Ace. Yeah, that one. I saw that one.
Wait. I want to use my kill. Look. Nice.
You're both cool.
I fold fairly quickly. I do get to see my opponent's hand that he had Jack 10 of hearts for flopping trips. Nice hand played by my opponent here in the big blind. He ends up winning this pot, and aces are cracked on the very first hand. After losing with pocket aces, I go card dead for over an hour. Don't pick up any playable hands. I'm down about $2,000 now before looking down at pocket 9s in the straddle. There's 2 calls for 25. I bump it up to 150 and get 1 call from a middle position player. So we're heads up here out of position. Red pocket 9s to a 6-9-9 2-spade board. Flopping quads, a very above average flop when you're holding red pocket 9s. I check, trying to let him bluff or catch up, but unfortunately he checks back. Turn card 8 of spades. I'm going to bet now, just hoping, praying he's got something to make it 125. Unfortunately for us, that is all the value we're going to get here with quads. My opponent folds, and of course, I've got to show the table the flopped quad 9s. Wait, I want to see if I hit quads.
You already hit quads.
Can you put a river? Can you put the river?
You already got quads.
I know, I want to see if I hit another one. My goal sometimes is to be so sarcastic that people literally can't tell if I'm either stupid or kidding, and I felt like this spot was pretty funny, pretending like I didn't know I had pocket 9s. Anyway, I don't know. I thought it was funny. Moving on to the next hand. I was card dead again after that pocket 9s hand for about an hour and a half until we get dealt in pocket kings. Under the gun, short stack limps for $10. I raised to $50. Everybody else folds back over to under the gun player who decides to go all in. I make the snap call and show pocket kings right away, and we get the bad news when he shows pocket aces. Kings versus aces, what a cooler that is, until the flop comes out king high, giving me top set, turns a queen, river's a 10. Oh my god, he hits a straight on the first board. The second board we only have 1 out and we do not get there. About a $700 pot lost here. Pocket kings to pocket aces. A few hands later, after kings versus aces, I get dealt in king-queen now in the big blind. There's a raise for 50, a cutoff call for 50, a button call for 50, and I complete in the big blind for $40 more. We go 4 ways to queen, 3, 4, rainbow. Pretty great flop for king-queen. We probably have the best hand here a decent amount of the time. The initial raiser now in middle position bets out 125. Now is when the hand gets a little weird when the cutoff player next to act raises to $275. Button folds, action back over on me. We're facing a bet and a raise. We've got top pair, second kicker, a very good hand on this board. I feel like I just can't let go of my cards right away. The middle position initial raiser could be c-betting with ace jack or ace king. Maybe this cutoff player's raising a weaker queen than ours. So I make the call for $275, and the middle position player makes the call as well. So this pot got bloated very quickly here. Turn card is the 7 of spades, bringing in a flush draw. 5-6 gets there now for a straight. I don't think the middle position player is ever having 5-6 in this situation. Just don't think he plays these cards from those positions. It is possible the cutoff player could have semi-bluffed raised on the turn with 5-6 for a straight draw. I could easily have 5-6 as well, and now the hand gets even more weird when the middle position initial raiser who bet on the flop and then called the raise leads out now for a $600 bet. The cutoff player snap calls this $600 bet, and the action's back over on me. I am just really confused of what is going on in this hand. I felt like the middle position player who let out for $600 could possibly have a pair plus flush draw, but what is the cutoff player snap calling with? If the cutoff player had a set or a straight, wouldn't he think about re-raising this $600 bet? Once he snap calls, I feel like he either has a draw himself or a medium strength queen. I could easily fold my king-queen here, but I feel like I'm getting a good price. I want to see what happens on the river, so I make the call for $600 as well. This pot is huge. Going to the final card, which is the 6 of hearts. Not my favorite card. Any 5 now makes a straight, but I don't feel like anyone's going to have a 5 in this situation. I check. Now middle position player who raised pre-flop, bet the flop, and then led out on the turn, checks over to the cutoff player, and now the cutoff player bets out $1,000. Trying to describe the cutoff player, he doesn't play poker for a living. I don't know too much about him, but he seems like the kind of player that if he sensed weakness and he missed his straight draw or flush draw, that he might turn some hands into a bluff. This situation's very weird when he bets $1,000 on this river because any 5 will make a straight. If he had a set or 2 pair, I don't think he's betting this river, especially for a $1,000 sizing. So when he bets here, he's saying he has a 5, but what 5 can he really have? He raised on the flop. I mean, does he have queen 5? Does he have 5-6 that didn't re-raise on the turn? I don't know. This is pretty fishy to me. I decide to look him up, though, in this game. I feel like sometimes you just got to call, so I put in a $1,000 chip. Middle position player very quickly folds, and the cutoff player does have a 5. He's got ace-5 of clubs that he raised as a bluff on the flop, turned double gutter on the turn, and hit a straight on the river, and got a donkey, me, to pay him off. Not my proudest hand to showcase here on the vlog. Think I could have easily folded the river. I do think he's very polarized, either having a straight or a bluff, and I just couldn't really think of many 5s he has in his range after raising on the flop. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments about this one. Feel free to roast me down there. Not my favorite poker hand I've played, that's for sure. After this hand, I add on to my stack for another $3,000 in pumpkin $1,000 chips. It doesn't matter how long I've been playing poker. When I play a hand bad and make mistakes, it just always leaves me on tilt. I'm definitely feeling the tilt in my chest and stomach after that bad call there. Could have easily folded and saved myself $1,000. Also kind of ran bad that he got there on the river. Anyway, I raise ace-10 offsuit to $50. I get a call from the button, call from the small blind, and a call from the big blind, and go 4 ways to an ace-high board all spades. With top pair, I bet $75, and only the button makes the call. Turn card is the 4th spade. It's the 6 of spades, and now I slow down and check over to the button, who pretty quickly bets out a $300 sizing. Now, you may think to yourself, Lex, you have top pair, you have no spade. He could easily have a spade in his hand. This seems like a very easy fold, but I feel like the button player, when I check to him on the turn, is going to bet any spade in his hand. I also feel like he might be taking a stab here as a bluff once I check the turn with hands like Queen 10, Queen Jack with no spade, maybe a 9x hand without a spade, or even a King X hand without a spade. So I feel like he's bluffing sometimes, and I feel like he's kind of stabbing wide here on the turn. I could call with my top pair, or I could turn my hand into a bluff, which is what I decided to do. I check raise here to $800, representing the queen high or the jack high flush. A couple reasons why I made this play. One is because I feel like the button player is going to be over stabbing on the turn once I check to him. I feel like he's going to be betting here with a lot of bluffs, and he's also going to be betting here with a lot of spades that can't really take too much pressure. For example, let's say he's got ace-8 offsuit with the 8 of spades, or maybe ace-7 offsuit with the 7 of spades. Maybe he's got queen 10 offsuit with the 10 of spades. All these hands are going to be in a really tough spot facing a check raise here on the turn. If he does have those bluffs, he'll fold them out right away. If he's got a medium to smaller spade, I can put him in a tough spot on the river. I'm obviously hoping he just folds here on the turn, but if he calls and the board doesn't pair, I'm going to probably fire out a big bet. My opponent on the button goes into the tank. I'm hoping he's not Hollywooding here. Looks like he's actually got a pretty tough decision. And eventually, after about a minute and a half of thinking, he puts in the call for $800. When he calls here, I immediately get the feeling that I'm just punting off money. I mean, do these players ever fold flushes? Maybe, but after thinking for so long on the turn, I just felt like he had a medium strength spade that he's holding on to here. So when the river card comes, the 3 of diamonds, I think I'm going to have to go for it. My opponent's got $2,500 left in his stack. The pot is a little bit less than $2,000. I showed so much strength on the turn. I'm representing the best hand possible with the queen of spades. I'm going to continue to represent that hand. If I did have the nuts, I wouldn't bet all in. I would probably bet around pot or 2/3 pot. So I decided to fire out a $1,500 bet. And immediately when I put these chips in the middle, my heart rate spikes. It is beating through my chest. I'm trying not to give anything away. My opponent hasn't folded yet. He's contemplating a call. I'm hoping my tighter image today will get me to get this one through. Haven't made any big bluffs so far. I've been one of the tighter players at the table. I'm representing the nuts. Hopefully he folds, but he does not. He puts in the chips and tells me, if you got a bigger spade, you got me. I show the bluff, and he shows king 10 offsuit with the 10 of spades for the 3rd nuts. A great call by my opponent, and just like that, we are stuck over $5,000 in this game. Obviously, it sucks when you get called by a hand you were hoping to fold, but that's just how poker works. Sometimes you put out a bluff, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it does not. I add onto my stack for another $3,000. I'm now in the game for $12,000. I'm stuck over $5K. I'm definitely on tilt now, somewhat in that desperation mode to make and play some big pots, and we do end up playing a big pot here with 10-7 of clubs. I call a raise and flop a straight flush draw on Jack 8-5 2 clubs. We have a straight draw, a flush draw, a straight flush draw. When my opponent bets $200, I snap call this bet, and when the turn card's the 6 of spades, I now improve to an open-ended straight draw, along with a flush draw as well. I decided to lead out on this card, thinking that it's a lot better for my range, calling out of the big blind, than the cutoff's range. I make it 325, and immediately I get punished when the cutoff player bumps it up here to $1,125. This raise by my opponent is a little bit confusing. I feel like she would just call here on the turn with her straight draws and flush draws. Don't think she would be raising a Jack X holding. Maybe she's raising aces or kings, putting me on a Jack X holding. She could have 2 pair or a set, but all that doesn't really matter. I'm never folding my hand in this situation. She's got over $5,000 in her stack. I've got over $5,000 in my stack. I make the call, hoping to hit, and I do. It's the ace of clubs on the river. I make a flush. I think I could lead out here, or I could check, and I decided to check over to her, and she snap checks back. I showed 10-7 of clubs for a flush. She shows Jack 7 of spades, so we both had huge draws on the turn, and we get a little bit back, around $1,500 going our way, which is the size of the bluff we made just one hand earlier. Things are turning around a little bit at a time, but we're still stuck now around $4,000. A pretty miserable session so far until that last hand. We got aces cracked, made a terrible call in the river. We also tried to bluff and it didn't work. But we've got 9.5K in our stack. We're not leaving this game. It's good. We're either going to win our money back or lose it all. And what better way to do it with pocket kings? There's a raise to 75, a call for 75. I 3-bet here to $350. And the cutoff initial raiser makes the call. Heads up here out of position with pocket kings to queen, jack, 3, 2 clubs. I bet out $250 and he makes the call. Turn 7 of hearts. I bet out $700 now and my opponent makes the call again. Could we be getting trapped here by a set or 2 pair? The river's the 8 of hearts. There's $2,600 in the middle. My opponent's got around $2,200 left in his stack. I feel like he's got a queen X hand in this situation. If he's got 2 pair, set or straight, he's going to take my money. I jam all in and he snap calls me. I show pocket kings, and he mucks. Whew, when he snap called me there on the river, I was worried that maybe we ran into a set or 2 pair or straight. But lucky for us, kings hold in a massive pot, and just like that, we went from being stuck $5,000 to making a flush with 10-7 of clubs, to stacking our opponent here with pocket kings, to now having over a $13,000 stack. $13,000 in front of me looks great, but remember, I'm in this game for $12,000. It's not over yet. We are still grinding. It's around 2 a.m., and the game is still very good. I convinced the table to do a 25 mandatory straddle under the gun, so now we're playing 5, 10, 25. I get dealt in pocket queens in the straddle. There's 2 calls for 25. I bump it to 175, and like I said, this game is good. Lots of action. There's 3 callers for $175. Big pot here with queens, but we get a bad flop. King, jack, 7 rainbow. I check, and the action checks all the way around. We do get a good turn card, however, with the queen of hearts, turning a set. Now, ace 10 and 9-10 beat me for a straight, but other than that, pocket queens for a set is a good hand. When it checks to me, I bet out $400. And the opponent that I stacked earlier with pocket kings goes all in for $1,500. Folds back over to me. I snap call here with a set, and he tells me the bad news when he says he has a straight, so our set is up against a straight. He's got 9-10 of hearts. We got to get there with the board pairing. We don't on the first run out, and we don't on the second run out. Our set on the turn looked great, but it gave our opponent a straight, and just like that, we lose freaking $1,600 in one hand. Man, what a swingy session. Up and down and up and down. A wild one here. Next up, we've got pocket eights. There's a cutoff raise. I call in the big blind and the straddle calls. We go 3 ways to a good flop here with pocket eights. It comes out 7-5-5. I decide to lead out on this flop with my overpair. I get a call from the straddle. Initial raiser and the cutoff makes the fold. Turns a 9, now bringing in a flush draw. I feel like my opponent on the flop could have a 5, but most likely has a 7. I've got pocket 8, so I block him from having 8-7 with a straight. I'm going to bet again to get value from flush draws and 7x holdings. I make it $300. My opponent looks back at his cards and calls $300. So now we're going here to the river, which is an offsuit 10. With 2 overcards to my pocket 8s, I think it's a little too thin to go for value against a 7x hand. I could blocker bet, but I decided check over to him, hoping this goes check, check, and we win. But my opponent does not check. He bets out $800 on this river. And we're in another tough spot, just like the hand earlier with King Queen, when my opponent bet $1,000 and I hero called and he had a straight. He's representing a very narrow polarized range here. He's basically saying he's got a full house or nothing at all. I don't think he would bet a 7 for this sizing, obviously. I don't think he has a 10x hand that he's taking this sizing with. I double block the nuts with pocket 8s. He can't really have jack 8 very often. 8-6 seems unlikely given the fact that I've got pocket 8s. I feel like he would raise the turn or the flop if he flopped trip 5s. There was a flush draw on the turn. Definitely feel like you'd be raising trips there some of the time. I could hero fold or I could hero call. Given the fact that this opponent looks like someone who could potentially bluff in this situation, could be turning pairs into bluffs, miss straight draws, miss flush draws into bluffs. I don't know. It's very close. He's giving off signs of potentially being weak. So I decide to hero call here, and I get the terrible news when he tells me he's got quads.
Out. Quads.
Nice hand, nice hand. Oh, God. There you go.
I get it. I get what you're saying.
Well, our $13,000 stack is no more. We've now dwindled all the way down to $9,000. I was stuck $5,500, came all the way back to a $13K stack, up $1,000 to now be stuck $3,000 again. Have you guys heard of the term winner's tilt? Well, that is what I've been experiencing this session. I've had a really good last couple months where I've been winning in poker. Bluffs have been working, hero calls have been working, and winner's tilt is when you kind of get entitled that you feel like you're just going to keep winning, that you're going to keep making plays and they're going to keep working, even if it's not the best play. My bluff earlier with ace-10 offsuit on a 4-spade board was just unnecessary. I didn't need to do it. The hero call I made earlier with king-queen versus a $1,000 bet when the board ran out 4 to a straight was just also unnecessary. I could just let that hand go, but I was on winner's tilt. Things were going my way the last couple months. I was up money. I have a bigger bankroll. I can withstand the swings. So I flicked in the $1,000 chip. And then lastly, this hand here with pocket eights, very unnecessary. I think I actually played this hand very poorly. Probably could lead the flop and should just be checking the turn. Never should be calling on the river, but winner's tilt got the best of me. Things have been going my way. I got entitled that I thought I could win, and I ended up just losing a big pot, and I feel like I played pretty bad this session. Not happy with the way I played. This is going to happen, though, when you play poker for a living. Sometimes you're going to play your A game. Sometimes you're going to play your F game, and I feel like tonight I was somewhere in that D to D minus, D plus range. But, you know, what can you do? Just got to keep rebuying and get back after it. I do end up winning one nice last hand of the night here. When I raise queen 10 offsuit on the button, I get a call from the big blind, who is the same player I tried to bluff earlier when there was 4 spades on the board when I had ace 10 offsuit. He likes to hero call now, and when the flop comes out giving me a gut shot, I bet small, he calls. I turn the nuts with the 9 of hearts. He checks, I bet again, and he calls again. And the river card's at 10, bringing a one-liner now to a straight. I showcased earlier that I was capable of bluffing, which is one of the best things about bluffing and showing your bluffs is that it really gets into your opponent's head. They're not sure if you have it or if you're bluffing. And this point, I obviously have it, so I'm going to bet big. $1,000 bet going in here on the river. He thinks for a while and eventually pays me off for $1,000. Queen 10 is good, up against Jack 10. Pretty sick river there for us. We do get a little bit back. The game ended up breaking after this hand, cashing out for $10,000. I was in the game for $12K, so lost $2,000 on the session. Definitely could have minimized those losses playing better, but sometimes it happens. Sometimes you play bad. I'm glad I'm able to put out these videos for you guys, so hopefully you can learn from my mistakes and not make these mistakes yourself. If you experience winner's tilt like I do, try to just play the best you can in the single hand that you're playing. Try not to let other hands or previous months get to you. I've talked before about long-term tilt when you're on a downswing and those bad runs make you play worse. And also, if you're on a big upswing, it can also make you play worse. And I feel like this was proof of that in this session. Hopefully I can play better next time. I'll be back next week at the Hard Rock. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Please like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, I'll see you.